The Forgotten Jungle. Dr. Lena Forsythe was used to jungles, but not like this. The canopy overhead seemed endless, filtering sunlight into soft, eerie patches, and the air felt heavy, saturated with the scent of strange, unclassified blooms. As a human archaeologist on a mission for the Galactic Coalition, she'd excavated ruins across a dozen planets. Still, this one held an allure of its own, something ancient, quiet, and hidden. Her small team had come to the remote jungle of the planet Sarrax after scans showed a faint, unclassified energy signature below the surface. Local lore spoke of a sleeping colossus, a myth that had persisted for centuries, but none had dared venture this deep into Sarrax's uncharted heart. After days of clearing vegetation and digging, Lena finally uncovered what she'd been hoping to find: the smooth, faintly iridescent stones of an ancient structure. They formed a doorway, covered in glyphs none of her equipment could translate. A thrill ran down her spine. The stones seemed to hum, as though eager to reveal their secrets. Entering the tomb, Lena and her team entered through a narrow passageway, their lights illuminating walls lined with carvings depicting towering figures surrounded by intricate spirals and constellations. The walls seemed to move, the spirals twisting and shifting subtly in the beams of their lights. She'd never seen anything like it. Her scans showed the stone contained alloys unknown to human science. After venturing deeper, they found the first sign of what lay beneath: a large chamber with a pedestal in the center. Upon it was a silver sphere about the size of a grapefruit, with fine lines etched into its surface like the veins of a leaf. Lena reached for it, and the room seemed to pulse in response. The air vibrated with a low hum, rising into a melodic sequence that filled the chamber. "Doc, what do you think it is?" murmured Andre, her assistant, his voice tense. Lena didn't answer immediately. She could feel something, a presence, a weight that pressed against her mind. The sphere pulsed again, and images flashed in her mind. Stars exploding, planets forming, civilizations rising and falling. Then she heard a whisper, like the echo of 1,000 voices, in a language she didn't understand. "It's a record," Lena whispered. "A memory." The Watcher's warning. As Lena studied the carvings more closely, she began to piece together their story. The beings depicted were an ancient race, older than the Coalition had recorded, perhaps older than humanity itself. They called themselves the Watchers, and they had dedicated their existence to monitoring life across the galaxy. But the carvings took a darker turn. The Watchers had faced something they could not conquer. They called it the Nameless Darkness, a force that consumed planets, stars, and even memories. In their final act, they'd sealed themselves within this tomb, sacrificing their lives to create a warning and hide their knowledge from the darkness. Lena felt the weight of their desperation in the walls, the carvings, the very stones beneath her feet. But the carvings hinted at something more. There was a figure at the end, a being that looked familiar. It had the unmistakable features of a human. "Wait," Lena muttered, tracing her fingers over the carving. "This can't be right. This tomb predates humanity." "How?" Before she could process the implications, the sphere in her hand flickered, casting a projection into the room. A humanoid figure appeared, translucent, clad in robes that shimmered like starlight. "I am Telenar, last of the Watchers." It spoke in a voice that echoed in her mind. "If you are here, our warnings have failed, and the Nameless Darkness has found us once more." Lena's breath caught. What is the Nameless Darkness? "It is the end of memory, of time itself," the figure said. "It moves between worlds, devouring not just matter but meaning, erasing entire civilizations from existence. If it reaches your world, everything you know will cease to be." The final seal. The air grew colder as Telenar's image began to fade. "You are not bound to our fate, traveler," it said, its voice weakening. "Take the key." The sphere pulsed again, transforming in her hand into a shard of what felt like crystal. "Only those who remember can resist it. You must be the bearer." With a final flicker, Telenar was gone, and the chamber began to shake. The walls rumbled, dust and stone falling around them. Lena's team scrambled, urging her to follow, but she held tightly to the crystal shard. As the tremors worsened, she had one thought. She had to get this relic out. They barely made it out before the entire structure collapsed, swallowed by the jungle as if it had never been there. A fading memory. Back at her base, Lena reviewed the data from their expedition. But something was wrong. The images, the carvings, the recordings of Telenar, all of it was gone. Every digital record, every scan had been erased. Only the crystal shard remained, pulsing faintly in her hand. Confused and disturbed, Lena realized the darkness might already be at work, erasing the evidence of her discovery. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching her, something vast and incomprehensible. The Galactic Coalition wouldn't believe her without proof. But she knew what she'd seen, what she'd felt. The shard, pulsing with faint energy, was a sliver of the Watcher's legacy, a fragment of memory, a seed of resistance against the Nameless Darkness. She pocketed the shard, vowing to return. The Watchers might have fallen, but she wouldn't let their warning be forgotten. Epilog. Far from Sarrax, in the void between galaxies, a shape moved. It was formless, a shadow without substance, a whisper of hunger that felt the spark of memory stirring anew. It had devoured stars, entire species, and even the Watcher's homeworld. But now it sensed defiance. And so, it turned its gaze, patient, relentless, towards the small blue planet where a lone human held the last key to resisting the darkness.